Welcome to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
Episode 11, A Deeper Look, Positive Reinforcement Training.
So next, very last subject we want to talk about. As dog trainers who've been doing this for a very, very long time, we tend to see that certain methodologies, every methodology it has its pros and its cons. What do you think some of the cons are of positive reinforcement training?
I think before I get into the cons, I just want to give a little what I consider to be a misconception.
Yeah.
So when we talk about positive reinforcement and that segment of the little, the kind of 4 quadrants of food work, in order for there to be positive reinforcement, it's almost impossible to not have a negative punisher.
Right.
Because denying food, if you're giving food for certain things, you're denying it for certain other things because the dog wants it all the time.
Right.
So with that being said, here's a con as we see it. And I'm going to attribute this not so much to positive reinforcement as a technique, but as it's seen in modern culture, which isn't exactly the same thing of what it actually is.
Right.
So what people typically think of with pure positive training, you should never say no. You should, if you don't like something, you should ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's lots of reasons as to why these won't always work. And if they do, sweet. But if we're talking cons, I don't consider food, when we're talking distractions and kind of real world scenarios, to be the most effective, the most fail-proof, the most safe means of making sure that your dog's going to do what they need to do.
Right. Yep. And because sometimes it's sometimes the distraction has a higher value to the dog than the food does. Right. It's a competing motivator. It could be that dog, could be that squirrel, could be that skateboard across the street. If that dog really wants it, sometimes that food is second best compared to that thing. So yeah, we'll definitely see that obstacle where food just does not work the way that it was originally planned to in certain scenarios. So definitely opening up different quadrants of the operant conditioning chart, that would be recommended actually. Some obstacles that I see that come in with positive reinforcement training is if, as balanced dog trainers, we definitely understand that certain types of dogs and certain behaviors actually do need opposition, right? They need to be opposed by you as the handler, as the teacher, as the coach, be it aggression, be it, trying to kill another animal, all these things. But the problem is sometimes I've worked with plenty of dogs who have done so much positive reinforcement work that they don't understand the concept that they could do something wrong. Right. And so I've seen many dogs who get frustrated when there's no reward. I've seen many dogs who get who actually don't know how to tolerate stress. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to take no for an answer or say or deal with the fact that they didn't get what they wanted, or that they couldn't work their way around it. So sometimes when we're dealing, outside of a training room or outside of a session, I've seen dogs not actually be able to have enough patience or to be able to tolerate when things don't go their way. Right. How about you? You ever seen stuff like that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely, there's probability there for big deficits in their game, because I think that that's an excellent point to bring up, is sometimes dogs don't even know how to deal with stress. And that's kind of what I was alluding to when I was kind of framing it as actual positive reinforcement is fine, because it doesn't necessarily say that you can't put a dog under stress. Naturally you are if you're denying food.
Right.
But what it's become, what people think when they think of positive reinforcement, probably the reason they clicked on this title was because I'm just keeping it real,
It's
so
true, yeah.
so the problem is, if a dog doesn't know how to deal with stress, you didn't do that dog a favor.
Right.
Dogs need to know how to deal with stress because this is the real world. And while it's not, I tell people this as a dog trainer, it is my job to stress the dog to a degree, because just training by its very nature requires the dog to unlearn things and learn other things, and change is stressful for anything.
Yeah. And that's
so
what growing up is. Growing up is
right.
stressful. It's our teachers stress us, our coaches stress us, our parents stress us, our friends stress us. So stress is actually a huge part of learning, and that's where we kind of see potential pure positive training as the way that the way that it's looked at socially can actually create a huge obstacle in development of the dog. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, a lot of times you learn so much when things go wrong as well as when things go right.
Right.
And so teaching a dog to deal with stress is, I think, invaluable. And in modern like understandings of positive reinforcement, I don't see. In fact, I do see it because it's in direct opposition to stressing a dog.
Right. Right. Totally agree. Totally agree. So, that's being said, what is our summation of positive reinforcement training?
Our summation or the popular summation?
Let's talk about our summation. Hopefully, we can educate some folks. All right, here we go. Our summation is positive reinforcement is definitely one of the best ways to shape new behaviors and motivate dogs to want to learn new behaviors. That is guaranteed, hands down, no arguing. The way that positive reinforcement is treated in the dog training field versus the way that it's looked at socially, this is where we start running into issues. Common areas that need to be taught by dog trainers or need to be requested to be learned by owners is how to eventually phase food out. That's really important. So if your trainer doesn't know how to phase food out, switch your trainer. Number two, make sure that your trainer teaches you good timing, or you as a trainer make sure you teach proper timing, right? And this could be through marker work. This could be through clicker work. Both of them are marker works, but make sure that you teach the trainer or the parent timing. Number three, make sure that you guys pick the proper learning environment. And also number four, make sure that you guys condition as much as possible. Do not underestimate how much you need to condition. The reason your dog listens to you in the kitchen where you pull the treat out of the cookie jar is because you've conditioned that probably more than you've taught the dog to sit out in the hallway or to sit on the sidewalk. So if you guys are not practicing regularly and conditioning and sprinkling those practices random, in different environments and different learning environments, these are going to be the biggest pitfalls to positive reinforcement training if you don't learn them.
100%. Can I just say before we close this out?
Yeah.
For all of you guys listening, we wanted to give a more foundational understanding and conversation of what positive reinforcement training is, but there's so many kind of subcategories that branch off into more advanced forms of training, and we just want to assure you that we are definitely going to be following up this episode with episodes discussing the pros and cons of various other methods of dog training. So keep that one in mind, because there are lots of things like reward events and different types of timing and different types of motivators and competing motivators and things that we talked about them in the sense that they happen naturally, like dog more interested in squirrel than food. But I just wanted to plant that bug in people's ears that we are going to bring up how you can utilize these things in training in a way that's repeatable and safe.
Yep, 100%. Alrighty, guys. That being said, I want to thank everybody for joining us on episode 11, a deeper look into positive reinforcement training. For those of you guys who have Instagram, go ahead and follow me and Mariano. Mariano is at UNTAMEDDOGCO, and mine is at CANISBEHAVIOR. We'd love it if you guys checked in on us and saw what we were posting. Sometimes we have some cool specials, some cool daily tips of the day. Please check that out. Also, make sure you guys check into our next episodes. We will be dissecting other dog training methods. Also, don't forget, leave a review. We need to have reviews so we can know what to do better, what to keep doing. If you guys like this channel, go ahead and like us and go ahead and leave a comment, because we'd love to know what you guys think about everything. And please subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the more reach that we're going to be able to have with you guys. Any questions that you guys have or comments, you guys can also feel free to email us privately at dogtrainerspodcast@gmail.com. And again, we want to really thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
We'll see you next time.